2 policemen, 4 foreign nationals, and another 4 Ghanaians are involved in that latest incident, which takes us all the way to Dwaboso. And that's why we're starting the conversation talking about illegal mining in Ghana. Thank you for staying with us. Our guest on this belt, Elizabeth Alua Vaah. She's Executive Director, Ghana Environmental Advocacy Group. Elizabeth, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, good morning. Nice to connect with you again, hopefully on a better note.
Yes, hopefully. You have constantly characterized this entire Galamsey menace as environmental terrorism. And here we are at another point where an arrest has been conducted and we have police officers supposedly complicit, together with 4 foreign nationals and then another 4 Ghanaians. I want your initial reactions to this entire incident. What is your take?
Well, it's good. It's good news. We've always known that the so-called guardians are the predators now, especially the security services, the people that are supposed to be protecting us, protecting the country. Some of them have most of the time been mentioned as either protecting those who are devouring our countryside, or themselves involved, or really mostly complicit. Because the last time we heard of this young man, what's his name, from somewhere in Bira, who had accosted a few policemen from Maxim because, you know, they were just collecting the money and not giving him his share, although he's the one that runs the whatever it is for them. So we know they have been complicit. Most of the time, even in some districts, my own district, you see the Galamsey going on and the police are in their whatever cars and whatever parked by the roadside waiting to collect their share of the booty. So it's good that somehow these policemen have been arrested, these security people have been arrested as part of this group. We are expecting to see things get to their full conclusion. It's good news, yes.
All right, so good news. These people have been apprehended. But it reminds me of a statement that a former Chinese ambassador to Ghana had made, and I'm sure you're well aware of it. He said, and in anger at the time, that the Chinese that we are victimizing, so to speak, they don't know where the gold is in Ghana. They don't get the excavators and whatever to those places. And it's Ghanaians who go and show them, and it is Ghanaians who pave the way for them. Where will you lay the blame in this? Yes, for every Galamsey incident, every 10 Galamsey incidents, you'd probably have about 6 or 7 involving Chinese. But should we really be faulting them? I painted a picture this morning in respect of a family. Imagine there's a family, and the father of the family facilitates a robbery of his own household. Does that make any sense? But that's exactly what we are doing. So whom do we blame on that before we even get down to the scourge of, you know, security officers getting involved? What do you think of that?
100% is the Ghanaian. It is the Ghanaian fronting for them. It is the Ghanaian who hires them in. Ghanaians most of the time get the concessions, or they don't get a concession, and then they go bring them to come and help them devour it. So it is the Ghanaian. The day we become disciplined, the day we realize that every distraction we cause is going to come back to us, and we change our ways, things will change. It's 100% the Ghanaian. If the father connives with an armed robber to come and rob his home, he is the one that has caused the destruction of his home, not the armed robber.
Now, let's focus on the concern of security officers. Our security officers, who are supposed to prevent such things, who are supposed to stand for Ghana, also getting involved. If a layperson gets involved, you wouldn't excuse them, but you would say to some extent that, but these are people who have pledged allegiance to protect our country, to protect the citizenry. We've had police officers, if you remember the Axim issue, among others. We've had military officers, soldiers involved. Why do you think this is happening, Elizabeth?
I will put it down to indiscipline and the fact that when they do these things, nobody gets punished, right? Erastus has shown in several instances where policemen, security services have been involved. They have been protecting foreigners and even also Ghanaian nationals to pillage forest reserves. And we haven't seen what happens to those people. The Axim one I mentioned, I understand the young man is in prison right now. And I keep asking myself, what happened to the policeman? Because if we listened carefully, he had been working for them until he got tired of being, quote unquote, robbed of working for nothing. That was when he accosted them. Eventually, the young man is rotting in jail, but the policeman, because in certain jurisdictions, in certain disciplines, even they say what? To whom much is given, much is expected. You have been trained as a security officer on the Ghanaian taxpayers' dime. And then instead of protecting the country, protecting the people, you are rather protecting those who are sabotaging, devouring the country. They should even be punished more than the person who is not a security person. Because it's a betrayal of the trust of the Ghanaian and a waste of our taxpayer money. And yet, they get things covered up, they get moved around, and they are still within the system. Something's got to give. We have to be harsher on them than even the regular people. And if we are not, then of course they will continue to do it.
Why do you think? There's a
name for it.
Right.
There's a name for it. Yeah.
What is the name for it?
Oh, when those who go on these patrols and stuff, it's like it's what do you call it? It's like payday or something. It's the easiest way to make money is to be involved in one of these patrols.
Why do you think there seems not to be that will, especially when it comes to our security forces, and not just tied to illegal mining? You would recall the killing of those 7 youth in the Ashanti region a long time ago and how long it took for any action. At some point, there was some compensation, I think, by the state. But you would see there's a certain pattern, a trend, where officials of our security services, we saw what happened in Ashaiman with the military officers. Could there have been some legal ramifications for them? I'm just saying that whether it's the police or soldiers or whatever, there seems to be a pattern where if they are involved even in crime, sometimes they get away with it. What do you think accounts for that? And how can we change or flip the script?
Oh, haven't we seen a lot of people who do bad things get away with it just because they can? The security services are no exception. Everything comes from the head. You set the tone and it goes across. In our case right now, if you know somebody in high place or you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, you can virtually do anything and get away with it. So if there is no that kind of discipline, that kind of, holding people accountable is not working from the top, then it won't work anywhere. So the police, the security services structure, whoever is in charge is going by whoever put him in charge. If they said for allowing so-and-so to happen without any consequence, you lose your job, you think they will just watch these things happen and no consequences? No. But right now in the country, it's like, depending on who you know, you can do whatever it is and get away with it. it permeates every aspect of our lives right now. So discipline is not there. There's no accountability, and nobody is held accountable for what they do.
Now, with this situation that we're facing, we know that the Rapid Response Unit of the Forestry Commission had to, intervene and ensure that this came to a cessation. In terms of the foreigners as well, we've seen in recent times at least some action with Aisha Huang, who was a repeat customer in committing crime in this country. Some people said that, well, it would impact our fortunes of getting any debt relief or debt agreement on our external debt with the Chinese, because they can be pretty, they can take things pretty hard. But what would you like to see from where you stand with the law cracking the whip on these Chinese? While I always say that I don't want to create any stereotype, they have created a stereotype for themselves by always being complicit in these. What would you like to see happen to them before we talk about what you would want to see happen to the Ghanaian nationals involved?
Yes, your reference to Aisha Huang is interesting. And so we didn't want to prosecute her because it would affect our fortunes. I wonder where that led us, because it's this same, it's our loans with the Chinese that is causing us to not even be able to secure a deal on our debt restructuring. So, and that really didn't take us anywhere. They've tried to give her 4 years. I think it's too lenient, and I'm glad that the Attorney General has appealed. We are all looking to see that she gets what befits the crime that she's committed. Now, with the rest of them that have been arrested, I mean, our law is clear, right? How many years jail term a foreigner is supposed to face if they engage in illegal mining versus how many years a local is supposed to have. I think we should let the laws work. We are fond of, crafting laws just to say that we have it in our books. A law is nothing if people who do not obey it just go scot-free, or there's so much leniency in terms of how it's applied. So the law is clear in our books how many years a foreigner should be jailed if they engage in illegal mining activity in the country. It should run its full course, and those people should serve their term in Ghana, and after that they should be deported. We shouldn't be told for one reason or another that they can't be found in our prison system. This has to stop. People have to love this country enough to make sure that she's protected.
And for our locals, you were saying initially that they should face even stiffer punishment, and I agree with you, actually. But what then happens to the locals and then, of course, the police? I feel if there should be any stiffer, the stiffest punishment should go to the police officers, if this, of course, is proven in a court of law. You always want the court system to take, or the law to take its course. But what would be your take on the local content in this matter?
Well, again, our law is clear on what jail sentence and what fines a Ghanaian who does such things should face. So the law should take its course, and they should get the punishment that they deserve. For the police, for the security people involved, I think it should also, on top of that, the fact that they have betrayed their country should count in their sentencing. But you see, just to add in here as well, and in preparation for coming into your program, I said, let me check, other places where there is natural resources. What is happening there? Do you have nationals just, going haywire and just destroying their country, destroying the rivers, the forests, and everything? And I just chanced upon the Norwegian, Norway, right? Norway found oil. You know what they did? They created a sovereign fund, put a big chunk of the whatever they get out of it into it, such that for the next however many years, hundreds of years, a child born in Norway is going to be richer just because that child is born in Norway than a 40-year-old Ghanaian. This is the generational planning that we lack. Because in some of these places where there is gold, we've virtually given it out to people to mine and take it away, and then the locals are just left destitute to the extent that some are ready to, go die in pits and do whatever it takes to survive. We have to rethink how we make use of our resources. I'm very happy that with the lithium, the likes of Prof. Jampo have stood up, and I'm hoping that it doesn't die there. We have to relook at our resources, because there are communities where the youth there think there is nothing else for them to do than to go and do galamsey, than to go and do illegal mining. And when you look at it, the resource is virtually being taken from under their feet by either foreign companies or crook individuals in our country, to the extent that communities are left with nothing but, just doing whatever it takes in these pits. There's something fundamentally wrong with how we exploit our natural resources, and whether communities that are sitting on those resources get to benefit from it or not. So we have to look at all of that in its totality.
Now, speaking of which, if you look at, quite a number of items were seized. They had put up those makeshift structures. 3 Toyota 4x4 vehicles were seized. And then there was also one unregistered motorbike and 2 pump action guns. And that's another concern. These people are dangerous. They are armed and dangerous. We can also talk about the AK-47 assault rifles. But what really boggles my mind sometimes is the fact that these things can happen in such places. Now, mind you, the Krokosua Hills Forest Reserve actually is an important watershed. It's a reserve, a forest reserve. In that same area, in a separate development, 2 excavators were demobilized in that same forest reserve, in that same enclave. And to make it even worse, it has been described as one of the biodiversity hotspots in the country, with a rich diversity of rare and restricted ranges of flora and fauna. Okay? Reminds me of Etiwa. And again, it has been designated as a globally significant biodiversity area. How is it even possible? How, for the life of me, is it possible, if in other places that have not been categorized, it happens? You can even find some. How is it possible that such places? It brings me back to that area in Winneba, which recently has come into sharp focus, because this is where for over 3 centuries it's been designated as, again, one of those biodiversity hotspots. It's a wetland. It is where the Abuachir Festival, the bushbuck is secured, and all of that. All of a sudden, there is talk about that place as well going. I don't get it. Do you have any explanation?
Oh, so you and I know that the LI 2462 is virtually saying that our forest reserves are open for mining. I wouldn't be surprised that there is some concession being given out to some people, and you go deep into it. There is no smoke without fire. How did these Chinese know that that area is available for them to mine? How did they get whatever they need from the district and whoever to go and do what they did? So right now is the Wild West when it comes to our forest reserves, our forests, our rivers. The Minerals Commission, it has opened the gates. And I don't blame the Minerals Commission. That law, that LI was brought to Parliament. And our representatives, most likely the representative of that area, They all approve this. And they should be ashamed of themselves. I say that unreservedly. Because either they are not reading or they don't care what they approve. Forest reserves right now are open to mining. And some of the rules that were there previously that says, you couldn't mine more than maybe 2 or 3% or whatever of it. And whatever you do, you have to reclaim it. They've done away with all of that. So it's open season for our forest reserves. We are shocked when we hear Kakum is on the chopping board. Well, Kakum maybe because it's got a name, but there are so many other for Ancaster forests and others that are on the chopping board. So we need to be responsible citizens and leaders. We can't always play catch up. So Parliament should call that ally and cancel it or repeal whatever the proper language is. We don't need it. And then we need also to get the Minerals Commission to know that not everywhere in the country needs to be mined. In most places, there isn't even enough gold. So these people are doing trial and error. 100 forests that are 100 years old are being turned upside down because somebody suspects there might be gold. I mean, what is our geological service, whatever the name is, doing? We have all these public civil service officers. They have specific roles to play. We're going to say that we don't have a budget for them to go and map out what mineral is where, in what quantity, so that when we even give these places out as concessions, they're going out to people who we are contracting to come and mine, so that when they mine, we pay them, we keep some, and we keep some for the local communities. This is how you develop. You don't go and sit in Accra, cut off my hometown to some XYZ company limited. Even when you go to their websites, they don't even have names, some of them. They don't have contacts, they don't have addresses. And the country is being carved out to people who would go and, bully the locals, take over the place, mine it, take the money, leave the pits. It's just what we are doing doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. So we need a rethink, we need a restructuring in addition to making sure that we enforce our laws. And Parliament must repeal LI 2462 before the first quarter of next year. We can't just dither with this.
Now, let me just take some comments before we gear up to wrap up on this conversation. Godwin Ajetina, who says, I'm in love with the submission of your lady guest this morning. Her name is Elizabeth Vaah. The root cause of all that she said is our constitution. Look, the system is void of accountability. Politics will always be of self-interest and for private gain. The bane of our, well, you say the bane of our woes. Okay, so the bane of our system is the structure of our constitution, where we were made to entrust the affairs of the country and its resources and others to the same people to self-regulate themselves. But there's a comment that comes through from Yahya Mohammed, who says, let me state it clearly to you that you are somehow talking from ignorance, because a Chinese cannot stay in China and know where our gold is in the country through the internet. The truth is that they connect with government officials, and then you go on to say things that I cannot repeat. But you basically suggest that there is collaboration between these entities to basically rip off the people of Ghana. Where you are mistaken is that you probably didn't follow the conversation from the start, because we made mention of this, that the Chinese cannot sit wherever. And no, I made mention of that. So if you didn't catch that, you should season your words. So what then, speaking about that act and moving forward on this specific instance, this forest reserve, what can your outfit, Ghana Environmental Advocacy Group, the likes of Awula Sewa and her group, the likes of Arosha Ghana, Daryl Bosu, among others, what are you going to do? One, in respect of the act, to push, to advocate for a repeal of that act. And then two, in this specific instance, how are you going to be on the ground or seek the necessary information so that we know exactly what happens to these Chinese and others? Look, there are people who have said in the past that when some of these people are processed in court and all of that, it's even tricky to find out whether they actually served their jail terms. You've raised suspicions about the police in the Axim incident. What then is the way forward in these two areas?
So in terms of a repeal of the act, Arocha Ghana is leading the pack, but we have over 25 CSOs who have joined hands to call on Parliament to do the needful and repeal it. So I'm adding here that we are not going to forget this. We are going to be on them until it's repealed. And I am watching closely our ranking member, MP Rashid Pelpuo, and everyone else on that committee and in Parliament who cares about our environment. You can't just talk like we are doing. You have the power. You are the people's representative. You have the right to call that LI and repeal it. In terms of, so we are going to continue to be on them, expecting some action on this before the end of the next quarter, the quarter that we are going into. So we are eyeing them on it, and we will continue to use every opportunity to call on them to act. In terms of this particular incident, so we wrote, Ghana Environmental Advocacy Group wrote to the Attorney General's office sometime last year to furnish us with a list of how many foreigners have been arrested for illegal mining, how many of them are in our jails, and if any have been released, the conditions under which they were released, and whether, in conjunction with the Immigration Service, they can tell us whether those people have come back or not. They acknowledged receipt of our letter, and that was the end of it. So, Attorney General, if you are listening, get your team to respond to our letter.
You put this forward to Attorney General Godfred Yeboah Dame, and they acknowledged receipt of your letter. You wanted to know of all of these nationals who had been involved, the foreign nationals involved in Galamsey and all of that. They acknowledged receipt of your letter, but there's been nothing. There's not been a peep from them.
There's been nothing.
Since then. When again? When did you submit this?
We sent this just before Aisha Huang was arrested. Just before she was arrested. So I think it's like almost 4 months, 5 months now.
Wow.
Yes. So that is
this simple information, especially in an age of the RTI, right to information, and all of that. You wrote in the capacity of, executive director of Ghana Environmental Advocacy Group, seeking that information. Till now, unless that is also national security information that cannot be released, you've not got any answer.
Not at all. And so we need that. We need to have that information. We need to follow these things all the way through. We are still waiting to find out. If you remember the missing excavator saga from Elembele, that was it's almost a year now, and nobody knows where it landed. So we need to know what's going on beyond the first few days of these guys have been arrested. What happens? That Axim young man, he is in jail. What happened to the police who he was working for? We need to know these things. So the duty bearers have a responsibility to respond when we ask. And if they don't respond, in a proper democracy, there should be consequences.
I agree with you.
And if there isn't, something is amiss.
Are you not willing to go the route of the RTI Commission to get the information you require?
We will have to go there. I was expecting that. It was taking them a while, they would get back to us. But if that's not happening, yes, we will explore the RTI avenue.
Right. I see this message coming through. Murabi JC A. Latif says, turn your camera to the Sifi Mrewa forest. Sifi Mrewa forest, like old woman. Sifi Mrewa forest reserve. Galamsey is destroying it. Thank you for indicating that, Murabi JC Latif. We shall turn our cameras there and see what is happening there. If you are in that enclave, we're coming for you. Well, let me see whether I can acknowledge some of the other messages that is coming through. Anyway, Elizabeth, this is how we are going to have to cap off the conversation. But I know that there's some activity you are up to in your community. Please tell us a bit about that.
How many hours do you have? So, and before I forget, let me commend the Forestry Commission. They are the ones that made the arrest, right?
Yes. So, in conjunction with the security forces, at least that's what I gather. Let's assume that is the case. But the Forestry Commission was in the thick of things, and they are for allegedly engaging in illegal mining activities. The Rapid Response Unit of the Forestry Commission, yes. But the police also came in at a point.
Yes. So let's acknowledge them. Thank you for doing your job this time around. Please don't renege on the promise that you've made to Ghanaians. We are relying on you for the safety and protection of our forests. Now to issues happening in Elembele. So the Elembele district, that is where the river Emenzule takes its source, and then it ends up in the sea, part of it, and then part of it goes all the way to Jomma, where we have Nzulazo, that beautiful village on stilts. And unfortunately, the Emenzule is also being destroyed. In fact, if you've been to Maha Beach Resort, the place where they have their mini port, the river there is being so destroyed that it compares to the likes of Ankobra and Pra. So we are on the traditional council of Lembele, as well as the district assembly, the DISEC, and all well-meaning Nzemas to make sure that we safeguard the Menzule. Because right now, if a Menzule also goes the way of Ankobra and Tano, then the Nzema area, we should just count ourselves annihilated, because we're going to be poisoned from all these rivers passing through our land and then going into the sea, where most of our families, that's what they live on. So that is an issue that we are pursuing. But beyond that, there is a company called Elembele Community Mining Company Limited that has gone to procure 300 acres of land from Adamus. Adamus, we have an issue with them, and that's also going to come up. But this land that has been procured, there are several communities that are in the thick of it. The DCE goes about saying this is for the community. Everybody is going to benefit, is the best thing that happened. We have said that you've watched the Menzule get destroyed, you haven't done anything about it. Until that is restored and all the pits in Elembele have been filled, we don't want any new mining, whether community mining or corporations mining or individuals mining. But interestingly, I said, let me find out, let me lift the veil and find out who owned this Elembele Community Mining Company Limited. So we went to the Registrar General, we have our own sources, and it ended up that the company, the beneficial owners of this company that is supposedly for the people of Elembele is the personal assistant of the DCE, Kwesi Bonzo, and then the Ulaya of Elembele, Ulaya Mshiakmanyu III. You can imagine how it feels. So these two people are hiding behind this company to go and do this so-called community mining. They will end up paying a few young men, a few cities over 3, 4, 5 months, however many months it takes them to take the gold, and then go and share the booty among themselves. So we are very, very, very concerned. And I'm throwing this challenge to the media. Everywhere they say there is community mining, please go and find out who owns the company that is prosecuting that. Because people who should be guardians of the communities have made themselves into predators, and they are preying on on the people. There's a reason why our gold does not benefit us. Because a few people, a few elites, sit down, they couch things, throw dust into the eyes of the people, and then enrich themselves with it. That cannot happen. That cannot continue.
Elizabeth, I don't know, you've just made me very sad. And I've always had my issues with community mining. I've always pointed to it. I know that there are things going on with that shouldn't be going on. And like you've put it, it's just illegal mining in another cloak. But this time, given the backing of certain institutions and all of that. But like you've mentioned, if we were to look at each one of these community mining areas and go into the ownership, I'm sure we would be visibly shocked.
You will marvel, yes.
So Amanzule is also on the line now. And the question is, how far will we go in destroying ourselves? God help Ghana. Elizabeth, thank you for joining the conversation this morning. Elizabeth Vaah is the Executive Director, Ghana Environmental Advocacy Group. We're glad you took the time to join us this morning.